Welcome to the Home Education with Ease podcast. I'm your host, Christine Furman, a homeschool mom, entrepreneur, and educator with over 20 years of experience in the areas of elementary and special education. It's my mission to help you create lifelong learners and embrace a holistic approach to education at home. I'll be sharing practical strategies, inspiration, and resources to support your family. Whether you're a stay-at-home mom, a business owner, or balancing work and homeschool, you're in the right place to connect with a community that values education just as much as you do. Join us each week as we ditch the stress, embrace the joy of learning, and set your family up for a lifetime of success. Hello, friend. Welcome back to the Home Education with Ease podcast. I'm your host, Christine Furman, your home education expert. Well, this month we are talking about safety tips for our families. And I know for me, my biggest job is to keep my kids safe. And they know that. I tell them that all the time. So I'm going to be sharing with you a lot of the safety tips that I have shared with my family in ways that I keep them safe. Last week, we talked about fire safety. We talked about coming up with a plan and making sure that we're prepared in case of an emergency. So we're going to continue that conversation today with topics such as keeping an open line of communication with our kids and our family, and being able to talk to them about situational awareness, code words, what to do in this particular situation. So we're going to dive into that this week. Next week, I have a special guest, Theresa, and she actually taught me so much about safety for my family. And I am just so honored to have her on the show and be able to have her share her expertise and experiences with all of you. And then the following week after that, I have another special friend, Rachel, that is going to dive into self-defense after a personal situation happened with her. And then it led her down this road of making sure that women and children know self-defense. So stay tuned. We have two very special podcast interviews coming this month. And we're going to kick it off with some more safety tips today. And I want you to keep in mind as we're talking about all of these safety tips, it may be like the opportunity or, teaching fear. We don't want to teach fear, right? We don't want to be fearful. We want to teach awareness. So keeping that in mind as we're having these conversations, as I'm sharing resources with you, it's not about being fearful. It's about teaching awareness for ourselves, us being aware, but also that awareness for our children. And if you are a praying family like we are, we pray for safety and health and protection. And that's something that we pray when we pray over our food. We pray that the food nourishes our body, keeps us healthy and strong. And then we pray for safety and health and protection over our family and over our friends and families. So that's something that you can also do to add into your prayers, and just keeping that in mind. That one thing I want to share with you is that in the Bible, it says, do not be afraid 365 times. And I just learned that recently, within the past few years. And I just love that so much, that it's our constant reminder to not be afraid, but to be aware. And I always tell that to my kids. It's not about being afraid. We're not afraid. We are aware. And if you've ever heard the term, keeping your head on a swivel, that is what I teach my children. Pay attention, keep your head up, and be looking around, scanning all the time. And that is something that I have instilled in them since they were little. Because my job, I truly believe, is to keep them safe. And I would tell them that all the time. What's mommy's job? Mommy's job is to keep you safe. And it just continues to evolve as they get older. That job of keeping them safe just changes. It's still my job. It's my job to keep you safe, keeping your eyes safe, your mind safe, making sure that you're not watching or hearing things that aren't appropriate for you, making sure that you're putting the right food in your body to keep your body safe, making sure that when we go out, You are being safe. And I always tell them that. And keeping that line of communication open with them is so important. I'm going to talk about that a couple times today because that, I believe, is one of the most important things to keep in mind. Allowing or making sure that our kids know that we are a safe space, that they can come to us with anything at any time, because that's what we want. We want them to come to us first. So keeping that in mind, these conversations need to start at home because they can be scary. They can be uncomfortable. But we want them to know that the safe space is here and what to do in these situations. Praying that they never encounter a dangerous situation. But we know the world we live in, and we know that it has been like this. But knowing that they need to be aware. So talking to them in many situations, when you're out at the grocery store, talking to them and saying, okay, you're going to give them the expectations. This is something I talk about all the time. So on the way to the grocery store, giving them those expectations. When we get there, I'm going to park the car, and it can be literally this detailed, guys. Okay. I'm going to park the car. You're going to get unbuckled. And depending on how old your kids are, you can tell them exactly whose door you're coming to first. I'm going to come over to your door and I'm going to unbuckle you. And then I'm going to come over to your door and I'm going to unbuckle you. Right now, my kids are 8 and 10, so they can unbuckle themselves and they can walk over to the one side. Now, if I am somewhere and I'm like, Ella, you stay in your side and you're going to come out Alex's side, or vice versa, right? Being aware of your surroundings, making sure that your kids are aware of their surroundings, and just knowing that whenever we park, we're going to walk in, we're going to hold hands, we're going to get a cart, you're going to sit in the cart or you're going to walk beside the cart, ready? Right? Giving them all of these expectations of what to be expected. And then you can also, in the car, talking to them about what to do if someone approaches you, what to do, what's your personal information, right? If we were to get separated, what is your information? How are you going to get in contact with me? You're going to find a sales clerk. You're going to, tell them your name and tell them my name, and they'll page me or call me, right? And guys, this actually happened to me. This happened when we were in Legoland. That's where we were. I'm pretty sure we were in Legoland. And this was a couple years ago. And I've always been teaching my kids, they know my phone number, they know my name, they know their name, they know my husband's name, his phone number, their address. That is something that it was very important to teach them their personal information. And the way that I did that is anytime that we would be in the car, we could practice reciting that. What's your name? What's your last name? How do you spell that? What's your phone number? Or what's my phone number? What's your address? So keeping these things in mind at a very young age, you can start doing that with your kids because they are sponges. You guys know I say that all the time. They really are soaking up all of the information that you are giving them. So give it to them. Give them the information that they need. Their name, their address, their phone number. All of that information is so, so important to them or for them. So having those conversations in the car, what to do if we get separated? Who are you going to go to? Oh, that's what I was telling you. So the situation that happened in Legoland, okay, there was a area that they could build Legos. And that's Alex went over there. I don't think Ella wanted to go over there. So Alex was building Legos and the line moves. Now, guys, in hindsight, I would have never done this because my mama heart was already like, I don't like this at all. I cannot see him. The line is moving and he's playing, which was an area that was kind of blocked in, where there were kids playing as the adults were moving in line. And again, we assume or we hope that it's a safe space, but we don't know that. And so the line moved down, it just went down, and we started coming back. And it was like, okay, well, I'm going to have eyes on him and he's going to come with me, because I didn't like that at all, right? That is definitely, I hated that. And as I was standing there talking to my husband, I was like, I don't like this. I can't see him. I feel, this doesn't feel right, And he's like, it's okay. He's just right there playing. And we're on our way back to get him, right? We're on our way back. Well, I look at my phone and I get a message, or I get a couple calls, and I was like, this is weird. I don't know who this is from, and I don't answer it. And then I get a message, and it was like, it wasn't alarming, right? But it was like, this is so-and-so, Alex is with me or something. And I was like, what? So I call right away, and they're like, and I told them where we were, and they brought him over, and they were like, he didn't see you when he looked up from playing, and he came over and found, an adult, or they found him. And they said, well, we can call your mommy. And he knew my number. And even that mom in that moment, so my heart is racing. I feel awful. I'm hugging him and crying, and he's upset. It was a lot. I have to be honest. It was really a lot. And as I'm like replaying this now, it's like, oh my gosh, how did that even happen? But I remember the mom in that moment, and I'm so thankful for her. And I think her name was Christine or Christina, which was so funny to me. And I remember in that moment, she said to me, my child doesn't even know my number. So I'm going to make sure I teach him my number right now, because that's so important. And it was so important, because if he didn't know my number, they could have taken him to, customer service or wherever, right? And he could have been sitting there for minutes, or walking. I don't know. I don't even want to think about it, right? But I'm so grateful that he was able to, know my number, that mom was looking out and saw that, he either had a panic look in his face or whatever the situation was. And we were able to be reunited in a minute. Right? It literally was a minute, but it feels like a lifetime. So keeping that in mind, all of that to say, it is so important for your kids to know your personal information. So keeping that in mind, and practice it all the time. And in that situation, just was so grateful for other moms looking out for kids that, look frantic. So keep that in mind too, moms. When we're out and about, if there is a child, now we also know that there are unfortunate situations as well, right? But keeping in mind, if it feels off, just take that child to the customer service, right? If it feels like mama bear's, kind of coming out, right? Step in, say, hey, what's your mom's number? Can we call her? And be able to get them reunited. So keeping that in mind. And that's why it's so great to even go with other people, keeping that, in mind. If you're going to the park, you can always meet up with other moms maybe, or other groups. And then that way you're just there with other people. That community is so, so important. So keeping those things in mind as we are just out and about. All right. Let's talk about maybe the car a little bit more, right? So we're going to the grocery store, we're going wherever, and your kids have to sit in their car seats. They have to buckle up. They have to have their seatbelts on, and they don't like it. The most important thing is to talk about how important it is for them to stay safe. You need to stay buckled, so then that way you are safe. What is my job? My job is to keep you safe. How can I keep you safe? By buckling you in the car seat. Now, I know this doesn't go for, toddlers and infants that hate their car seats. I totally get that, and I feel for you all. I never experienced that with my kids, so that was something that, they were just able to go in their seats and be buckled, and that was okay. But always keeping that in mind, just having that conversation and that soothing voice of saying, we have to just do this. This is to keep you safe. And trust me, there were times when I'm like, sit down, buckle up, it's time to go. There are those moments too. I definitely understand that. But trying to keep that even tone, just reminding them that this is for their safety. And something that I always did is I always kissed them and I always said that I love them as I buckled them in their seats and I, walked to my seat or, walked to my door. Just kind of keeping that in mind that, just reminding them that you're always there for them, that you love them, and that you are their safe space. Well, let's talk about when we do get out of the car, right? We talked about the expectations of going into the grocery store, but what about when we're in the parking lot? How can we prepare them for those moments, and how do we keep them safe? So some of the ways that we can do it is, again, by talking to them, explaining it to them, and saying to them, you're small. A car can't see you if they're going to back up, right? And you could even show them, like if you're standing here, that car, they can't see. And then show them where you are standing and how much taller you are and how they'll be able to see you. So that's why it's so important to hold my hand, never run behind cars, pay attention to all the cars. Even Ella now, if a car is running, she'll say, hey, Mom, that car's running, so we got to be careful. And I was like, yeah, we do. We have to pay attention because you never know when someone in an instant puts their car in reverse and backs out without looking. It happens. It happened while we were going on a walk one time that on a driveway, we were standing there waiting to cross this driveway. And I should have just walked on the other side of the road. We should have just done that, right? But I didn't. And we waited and waited and waited. And then I was like, all right, Ella, go ahead and go. And as soon as she started going, this car started backing out, not paying attention, not watching. And I'm just screaming for Ella, just to go, hurry up and get past. And she did it. Everything was fine. But in those instances, I'm telling you, pay attention because people sometimes aren't. They aren't paying attention when they're backing out. They're looking at their phone. They're fixing the radio. They're talking to whoever. So just keep that in mind and pay attention. Making sure that they are holding hands. That's something that even still to this day, I'm like, listen, just hold my hand just until we get there. And sometimes it's not necessary and sometimes it is necessary. And sometimes I'm like, listen, I know you're big, I know you're older, but I want you to hold my hand as we walk across, through the parking lot. And then when you get there, putting the kiddos in a cart, and you can tell them that. Are they going to sit in the cart? Are they sitting up top? Are they sitting in the back? And if you do have little ones that you're putting in the top or in the bottom, pay attention. Keep in mind that as you turn to grab something off the shelf, unfortunately, there are people out there that are watching for those moments. So again, situational awareness. Be aware, be quick, and, pay attention. I know grocery shopping with littles can be a lot, and that's just a whole nother thing, right? So give yourself grace while you're shopping and, just be aware. All right. So let's talk about our kiddos then, about having that conversation when we are going places or when we are at the park or even in our front yard. Okay. Making sure that they know they don't go anywhere without telling an adult before they, leave our house, before they leave our yard, before they leave the playground, to even just go to the bathroom, right? They need to make sure that they come tell an adult before they go anywhere. Oh, I just went over to the neighbors. They invited me over. No, you have to tell me, because when I look outside and I don't see you, I panic. So again, I'm telling you guys, it's just all about this conversation and this open communication with our kids. If they know the why, they're more likely to understand. So if they know, why is it so important for me to tell you before I go somewhere? Because if you don't tell me, I could think something happened to you. So all you have to do is pop your head in, come find me and say, hey, Mom, I'd like to go over to the neighbors to see, this new toy. Or, hey, Mom, I need to go to the restroom. Okay, great. We're all going to go when you're at the playground. Or, hey mom, I am, whatever, playing this game and we have to cross the street to go get the ball. Who knows, right? So keeping that in mind, if you can't see them, you can't keep them safe. Continue to just share that with them. I need to know where you're at. I need to have eyes on you. And keeping that in mind that when your kids are outside, I'm really thinking about my kids in the front yard, right? Anywhere. There are cars that could be driving past, and your kids need to know safety about cars. One, that they never should cross the street. Again, that's the whole thing of like, if a ball rolls across the street, don't go running after it, right? You never know if a car's coming. So keeping those things in mind and reminding our kids of those things. We know these things, but our kids need to know because they don't just know that. So, and then if you do see that happen, say, listen, you need to come back over here. You cannot do that. You can't cross the street without an adult, or you can't run after a ball because this could happen. A car could come, right? And they could not see you and something bad could happen. Again, keeping it age appropriate as well. Like when my kids were little, I would just say something bad could happen. You don't want anything bad to happen because we don't want to speak that negativity either, right? I talk about this a lot too, where I don't want to say, well, you don't want to do that because you can end up in the hospital. That could happen, but I don't want to speak that. I want to say, you need to stay safe. I'm trying to always keep it on the positive because I want them to know this something could happen, but I need you to be over here so you're safe. So keeping that in mind, just crossing the street, but also keeping in mind that if cars, and this is something I would tell my kids, if you're outside playing in the front yard, now I can see my kids when I'm working in the front yard, and I typically would have the window open so I could hear them as well. And if they were playing and I would say, listen, if there's a car that goes past multiple times and slows down, you need to come inside. I don't care what you're doing, just come inside. And that they've done that a couple of times, come up on the front porch, or teaching them and showing them that you have to be aware, even in your own front yard, even in the places that you feel comfortable, you have to be aware. Paying attention to cars that are going by, and maybe they're scoping it out. Are there adults around? Is it somewhere that they can slowly, talk to or slow down and talk to a child? And that's something else to keep in mind. An adult should never ask a child for help. They should never say, hey, can you help me find my puppy? Hey, can you help me? Or do you want some candy? Guys, again, all of the things that we probably know and we think, oh yeah, that's so, why they would never do that. They wouldn't. You don't know that they wouldn't do that. We need to teach them that over and over and over again. This is not a conversation that happens once. This is a conversation that we need to continuously happen. Never talk to a stranger that is in a car that is slowing down or says, hey, I got a question for you. Nope. Keep on moving. Either walk or run, say no thank you, and keep on going until you find a safe person. And making sure that they know who those safe people are in their life. You, your spouse, whichever neighbors that you know and that they know, listen, you can go to this house because that's a safe space. You can go there. That's a safe neighbor, right? If there was a situation, they know where to go. Keeping that in mind. And also teaching them, guys, I know this is hard to talk about, but teaching them about people that should be safe that may not be safe, okay? And also teaching them that if it doesn't feel right, they need to lean into that. If they have that yuck feeling in their stomach, they need to get out of that situation, okay? So whether that is they're talking to someone that it should be a safe person, but it doesn't feel safe, they need to come tell you that. They need to, leave that situation. They need to make sure that if something were to happen, they know that they need to make noise. And they need to, if someone approaches them, or obviously you guys can tell this is a hard conversation to have. This is a hard topic to talk about because these are our babies. And we want to keep them 100% safe. So having this conversation can be difficult, but it needs to be addressed. Making sure that they know that they need to be able to trust. Who can they trust? If they have that weird feeling, that pit in their stomach, or they're scared, or those are the things to keep in mind and remind them about that. If you get a weird feeling in your tummy, you need to make sure that you come see me right away. So keeping that in mind, and like I said, this stuff is not new. I remember my mother-in-law telling me a story when she was a kid that she was in her yard and swinging on a swing, and either she saw a car pull up or, someone was walking. I don't remember the whole situation, but I know that she remembered. And I remember her telling me like something felt off and she just ran for the house. And that's scary. I mean, this is a scary thing for us to experience and to talk about. And I know with the doorbell cameras and our phones, there are many more situations like this captured on camera. And I've seen some of these situations where a car would pull up and kids were just out playing in the yard. And, it's just scary. So keeping those things in mind, it doesn't even have to be, the front yard. It could be at the grocery store, at the mall, wherever you're at Target, keeping your kids close, making sure that everyone's aware, making sure they know what to do in case of someone does approach them. What do they need to do? They need to scream. They need to shout. Then they need to get, a clerk if you're not there. And they need to, and this is for us too, moms. If we feel like something is off, we need to go and tell someone at the store and either be escorted out or call the police, right? And we're going to get into more of that over the next 2 episodes. So definitely stay tuned for that. And what more should we do? Okay. So today I just kind of gave you an overview how I have incorporated these tips and tricks and resources for my family and my children, making sure that our kids know that it's never okay for an adult to say, I have a secret that I want you to keep. That is a red flag that our kids need to tell us, and we need to make sure our kids know that. Did you feel safe in this environment? Did you feel uncomfortable in any way? Why and how? We need to be their safe space. We need to be the spot for them to come to and say, you know what? That made me feel, I don't know, like weird, right? Whatever that feeling is, like I didn't like that feeling. All right, what are we going to do about it? What happened? And maybe it was nothing. Maybe it was just a weird feeling, and maybe they just have an intuition about a certain person. Keep that in mind. If they have a weird feeling about, it could be a family member, it could be a neighbor, it could be a teacher, someone at the church, a police officer, a firefighter. It literally could be anyone. If they have a weird feeling, pay attention. Validate those feelings and say, okay, well, what happened? What is making you feel that way? And what do we need to do? Keeping those things in mind. And like I said, no secrets, no special gifts. Whenever we would do birthdays, it's not we're going to keep this a secret. It's a surprise. This is a surprise. So keeping that in mind, we've taken the word secret out of our vocabulary because I didn't like that. I didn't want them to get confused, especially when they were little. Like, oh, this is an okay secret and this is not. Nope. You know what? No confusion makes it a lot easier. There's no secrets. There's surprises. for birthdays and for a special event. I was surprised to tell you. I don't have a secret. So keeping that in mind, and no one should ever ask your child to have a secret. They need to make sure that they know, and I know I'm saying this again, they know to be able to come tell you right away. So let's wrap up with just how can we do this with our kids? Other than having these conversations over and over and over again, when we're in the car, those are perfect opportunities to have these conversations. So instead of giving them screens, instead of popping on a movie or whatever, on our way to wherever we're going, tell them the expectations, talk to them about safety, practice your personal information. These are the perfect opportunities to do that. It keeps it fresh in their mind. And what else are they doing? They're there. Their full attention is on you because they have nothing else to distract them. So keeping that in mind, use these small moments to turn them into teaching moments. You guys know I say that all the time. See each moment as a chance to learn, right? Because that really is what it's all about. How can we take even the smallest moment and turn it into a teaching moment? So practicing, giving them some situations. What would you do in this situation? What would you do if someone approached you at the grocery store? What would you do if you were outside and a car kept driving back and forth? What would you do? And if they don't have the answer right then and there, talk about it with them. Don't make them feel like they should know and I can't believe you didn't know that. No. This is the opportunity to learn. This is the opportunity for you to teach them and for them to grow. So keeping those things in mind, because they're not going to know unless you teach them. Practice those situations. I would love to know in the Facebook group, Home Education with Ease, that link's in the show notes here below, what are some of the situations that you are going to practice with your kids this week? What are ways that you are teaching your kids about safety? I would love for you to share those ways in the comments and just continue to let's keep this conversation going about keeping our kids safe, because that's what it's really about. How can we keep them safe? And maybe you have a tip or a resource that I don't know about. Or maybe you have a situation that you encountered that would help save another family. Share those in the Facebook group. Let us know. Let us come together as a community and protect our children, protect ourselves, our families in any way that we can. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me. Remember, stay tuned for 2 special interviews the next 2 weeks. And like I said, join the Home Education with Ease Facebook group for community, for support, for encouragement. And if you are looking for more on safety, the fire safety collection is going to be in the show notes below. That collection you can purchase, and there are videos that come with it. There is a ton of safety information that you can go over with your kids. And I always add additional videos. I always add additional resources. So stay tuned for that. There are books that you can read with your kids, and I'll be sharing all of that information as well. So keeping that in mind, and also joining us in the Home Education with Ease Facebook group on Tuesday at 2:00, we are going to do a safety for your kids with my kids, and they're going to share their safety tips. So then that way you can watch it with your kids as well. So here's a podcast for you. And then here's an opportunity on Tuesdays for us to be able to talk about this topic with your kids and being able to, with my kids. So basically my kids are going to be there alongside me to be able to share those safety tips for you and your family. Well, have a wonderful day. Remember, keep the line of communication open and see each moment as an opportunity to learn and make it a teaching moment.
Thank you for tuning in to the Home Education with Ease podcast. I hope today's episode left you feeling empowered and ready to take the next steps on your home education journey. Your support means the world to me. Please subscribe, leave a review, and share with a friend.
For even more resources, be sure to join the free Facebook group, Home Education with Ease, and visit eduplaylearning.com to explore programs and subscription kits. You can find the links and any other links mentioned in this episode in the show notes below. Remember, you're not alone. This community is here to support you every step of the way.